Hey guys, happy Friday and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to do a July wrap up. I don't remember what I put in my June wrap up because I know I filmed that one I think a little early because that was like the midpoint of the year wrap up. So one of them I'm not sure if I counted because I finished it on I think July 1st. So I don't remember if it was in that one or not. But I read 3 full books and then maybe that 4th one. In August, I feel like I have a little bit more time, so I'm going to do my August TBR on here as well. And there's a few books that I'm really excited for, and I think because I'm so excited for them, I'm just going to fly through them. Like, I'm going to really roll through a bunch of books. And then I also have 2 call weekends in August, which means I'm either going to do a lot of reading because I'm going to be sitting at home doing nothing, or I'm going to do no reading because I'm going to be at the hospital all day. There's like no in between on those weekends, so it's kind of hard to tell. But I am doing a quick little like 1.5 day trip to the beach, and I'm going to take a book for that, and hopefully I can get through a fair amount of that book then. Let's just jump right into the July wrap-up portion of the video. So like I said, I read 3, maybe 4 books in July, which wasn't a ton, but I'd had some books that I really enjoyed this month, and specifically one that like is altering what I'm going to be reading in August because it just flipped a switch and now I'm in such a fantasy mood. I feel like I'm so ready for fall at this point. I know it's, when I'm filming this, it's July 29th. I shouldn't be ready for Halloween, but I am so stoked for fall. I'm done with the 90 degrees. I want cool 75, 60 degree weather. I want to binge the Harry Potter movies. Part of me is like, I should reread the books again. Jumping into the books that I read. So the first book that I read this month was Powerful, and like I said before, I finished this on the 1st of July, but I started it on like June 28th or something. It was at the end of June. I don't remember if I put it in my June wrap up because at that point I was very close to finishing it. It was a short, easy book, but I loved this book so much. I go back and forth in my head on if I liked this or Reckless better, because I just loved how much character development there was for a novella. Like, that's what truly shocked me, and I loved the characters in this book so much. I feel bad, like I rated this a 5-star on Goodreads, and I feel like in my head I'm like, is a novella really a 5-star? But I do think this one was. I think this is an exception. I think this had, like I said, just so much dimension for being such a short story. And I loved this book. Like, I absolutely adored the characters in here. Yeah, I'm so glad that I picked this up. I think this is definitely a novella that wasn't necessary for the storyline between Powerless and Reckless. No. But it gives a lot of depth behind some of the characters, and I think that's 100% necessary. Fantastic way to start the month. Then I filmed my finishing series I'm in the middle of, and I read Heartless, which is book 2 of the Chestnut Springs series. I read Flawless like a year ago, and then I'd been trying to read Heartless since probably January. I picked it up January, February. I read a little bit then, and was maybe 100 pages into it and then put it down. But I restarted it this month and I really enjoyed this one. I love Willa so much. Cade was a type of character that he had a lot of growth and you grew to love him, but I loved Willa from the start of this book, and I don't know, I hope that she makes appearances in the other ones in the series because I just absolutely adored her. I liked her better than Summer and Flawless. Like I said, I don't remember a ton about Flawless, but from what I remember, I liked this one more. I liked the grumpy sunshine. I liked the single parent trope. This one just had a little bit more that I enjoyed. I really do enjoy Elsie Silver's writing, and I'm definitely going to be picking up more of her books in the future, but I could see myself getting into some more of these cowboy romances once it starts to get a little bit closer to fall. The one thing I have to say about this series that I don't remember as much in flaws, but like I said, it's been a while, but this book was pretty spicy, and I feel like a whole section in like the middle, like 1/3 of the book was like where most of it was, and I don't love spice. If it's there, I'll read it. I enjoyed the storyline. I hate when books are spiced with no plot, and this wasn't that, so it was okay, but I could have went with less of that, make the book like 50 pages shorter, and I would have thought it would have been an amazing book at that point. I don't get into the spice as much. I don't remember what I rated this. I think I rated this like a 3.5 stars. It was 3.5 or 4. I probably put a 4 on Goodreads, but I think it's like a 3.75. And part of that is just I am such a harsh critique with romance books. Fantasy books, I feel like I'm like, I liked it 4 stars. I said this was a good book. It was just, I think without the spice it would have been like a 4.5 star. With the spice it's like sitting right around a 4 star. So, well, final rating is going to be 4 stars. That's what I'm going to go with. I'll probably change my mind 4 times between now and when I read the next book. So then the third book that I read shouldn't really come as a shock, and that was Reckless by Lauren Roberts. This is the second book in the Powerless trilogy, and I love this book. Initially when I was reading it, and I was probably about the halfway point, I wasn't so sure, and I was sitting at like a 4 star, and I don't know, I wouldn't call it a 5 star, but this is like a 4.75 for me. The ending was just, if you know the ending, you know the ending. But I don't know, I feel like this book had a lot happening and didn't have a lot happening all at the same time. Like, I feel like we were kind of just going around in circles throughout the book. But I love this world, I love the characters, I love Lauren Roberts' writing, that I was perfectly happy. Just keep circling around, and I was there for it every second of the way. But compared to the first book, it was a little bit lackluster. Just because there's so much going on in the first book with all the trials, I ate that up. I loved that book. And I said in my like finishing series that initially I rated Powerless, I think, like a 4 star. That's a 5 star now. Like, thinking back on it, the more I thought about it, and the more it kept popping up into my head, because it was just, it had a permanent residence right in my brain. I was like, that's gotta be a 5 star. Like, 5-star books are the ones that stick with you like that. This one is, like I said, like a 4 or 5. So then the last book that I read in July, I actually finished just yesterday on July 28th, and that is The Fury by Alex Michaelides, and he is the author of The Maidens and The Silent Patient, and I read both of those in probably like 2022, and I really enjoyed both of them. They're kind of like psychological mysteries. I wouldn't really call it, they're not thrillers, but my brain always wants to go to like psychological thrillers. They made you think, and they were definitely like from a psychological standpoint, and I really enjoyed that aspect of those ones. And this one was kind of similar, and it took me a little while to get into the writing because I'd forgotten that that was kind of how he wrote, that he writes very like sophisticated. But once I got like back into the idea of his writing style, the book did get a lot better from there. I still didn't love it though. It was not like a top book for me. His other 2 books I think were so much better, and I saw a number of like lower ratings on this book, and I think a lot of that probably has to do with The Silent Patient setting like such high standards for his writing that this one just kind of fell a little bit flat. I liked the storyline of it. The writing was different on this one. Their narrator was like a screenwriter, a playwright, something like that. Like, he worked with plays. And so it almost mixed like psychological writing with like sophisticated Shakespearean kind of style, where it's like he was describing things as like the portions of a play and like pulling up quotes from like different plays and different things. And I just didn't love that. I think I ended up rating this book like a 3-star, which is not a bad rating at all, but I don't know, I feel like I just wouldn't necessarily recommend it to other people. If you like his writing and you really liked The Silent Patient and the Maidens, I think you would still enjoy this book, because like I said, I still enjoyed it. I don't know, I feel like a 3-star really isn't a bad rating, but I also have a really hard time rating anything below a 3. But I don't know, I feel like for me, if a book is going to end up being below a 3, I just stop reading it. So in order for me to even give like a book a rating, I have to enjoy it, and I just arbitrarily pick a number half the time, and I'm like, yeah, that's a 4-star, that's a 3.75. Like I pick numbers, and if I like it, it's a 5-star. If I love it, sometimes I say it's a 6-star because I have too many that are 5 stars that don't compare to like my all-time favorites. I don't know. Those were the 4 books that I read in July. And like I said, I didn't read a ton of books, but I had a really busy month. But rolling right into books I want to read, I'm going to talk about my August TBR. So I have a little bit of a lofty-ish goal for August. I'm hoping to get through 4 books again. I have 5 that I'm technically putting on my TBR because I'm still kind of choosing in my head between a couple of them. The only ones that I know for sure is I know for sure I'm going to read 2 of them because I'm super stoked for one of them, and then it's a series. But then I'm hoping to start filming like another finishing series video because I'm already reading 1 series, so I might as well like complete 2 tasks at once. And sorry, I'm watching a spider climb up the wall outside the window. Yeah, I might as well complete 2 tasks at once and read series so that I can film that video as well as just reading for fun. Starting with the first book that I'm going to start this month because I'm going to start it today, Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I've talked about this book a ton of times about how I haven't read it yet and how I want to read it, and this is the month I'm going to read it now, and I am ready for it. I'm excited. I thought about holding off a little bit because the 3rd book comes out in January, so I was going to hold off and read the 2 of these closer to January. But after reading Powerless, I'm just in such a fantasy mood, and this is what I want to read, so I'm going to read it. I'm such a mood reader that I feel like if I want to read something, nothing else is going to sound good until I read the book that I want to read. So my first 2 books are Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, and I really have no reason why I didn't read them before now, other than for a while I was stubborn, and because so many people loved it and it was so hyped up, and all I heard anywhere was about how great Fourth Wing was, it made me not want to read it because I didn't want to be disappointed if I didn't love it as much as everyone online was saying. I feel like it's right up my alley. I love Throne Flask, I love Akatar, love Powerless, and I feel like all the people who love those books always rave about this one. So yeah, my turn. Yeah, so my first 2 books on my TBR are those 2. And then the next ones are ones that I'm a little less sure if I'm actually going to read, because like I said, I'm such a mood reader that these are ones that are like on my radar, but who knows what's actually going to happen. So I'm thinking at some point I want to read some type of mystery, thriller, something. I love those as like palate cleansers. And I think I'm going to probably end up going with The Housemaid is Watching, because in May or June, I read the first 2 books in this series, and I read them back to back. And then this one came out, and I was gonna read it, but kind of wanted to pick up some other books first, but I wasn't really in a mystery mood anymore, so I didn't. And I don't know, I feel like once I read Fourth Wing, I'm gonna want some type of palate cleanser for a little bit. And now that we're getting closer to fall, I feel like this is a better palette cleanser. Like, I still am interested in some romance books, but come fall, I feel like I always switch to using mysteries as my palette cleansers, and I don't really know much about this one. Like I said, I read the first two. I want to go into it blind. I don't want to know much about it, but I might pick up this one. I don't think I really have too many other. The only other one of these that I haven't read, this is like my mystery thriller shelf right here. But I also have The Inmate by Frida McFadden, and one of my coworkers said that she read this one and she really enjoyed it. So I want to get to this one at some point, but I feel like I'd rather finish up her other series first. So this one might be one that I read maybe in October. I feel like it's giving October vibes. But then the last two books on my TBR, I know I'm not going to get to both of them, but I'm probably going to pick one. Like I said, I'm going on like a short little trip to the beach, and I think either one of these would be perfect for that. And that is The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams and Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. And I read the rule book because I read both of these out of order. I read the rule book in June when I went to the beach, so I think The Cheat Sheet might be a good choice because then I would have read both of them at the beach. And this is technically the first book in that series, but since they're interconnected standalones, it's not the end of the world that I read them out of order. But this is about a football player and a ballerina, I think, or ballet teacher or something like that. I don't know. I feel like this might be a fun one to kind of tie between like summer and fall. I feel like we're getting close to football season. Like, I'm excited for this one, but I absolutely loved Just for the Summer because, like I said, I read both of these series out of order. And Just for the Summer is technically the third book. I have Part of Your World now. I bought it in July. I already owned Yours Truly, but I read Just for the Summer. But I didn't know that they were a series until I was like reading it, and there's a couple of times where I was like, they're really mentioning this person like I'm supposed to know who they are, but I don't. And then I got to the end of it and I found out that they were interconnected standalones, so people who read them in order did know who the character was, and I just didn't. So this is the first book, and I've heard lots and lots of good things about it. I kept kind of thinking about this one, but up until like maybe the last 6 months, I never really read too much of a romance book, even though I heard good things about it. But like I said, now I just enjoy romance more, so I'm excited to potentially get to this one. It's about a doctor who, or like a person who's in school to be a doctor, and then she goes back to a small town. Like, she's big city, he's small town. Yeah, and she's just kind of like rediscovering like what's actually important to her. And so I don't know, this one seems like such a good book. Not sure which one I'm gonna pick up, but I'm keeping my options open. I definitely am enjoying romances a lot more. And I even started, you can kind of see over here, I started making my own little like tiny romance section over there, and it already has one of the cubes completely full, and then the other one's probably gonna end up completely full with Elsie Silver's books, and then I just have like the bottom two, and that's gonna be my little romance section. It cleared up a little space for some more thrillers and fantasies on my big shelves. And so if you guys have any romance recs, please let me know, because I feel like because I'm just starting to get into it, I feel like I'm hearing some of the like super popular recommendations. Sometimes it's too many being thrown at me, and I just want a couple of them. I have like no standalone romance, they're all interconnected standalones is what I'm learning, or series. And so if you have any like standalone romance recs, because I think those would be perfect palette cleansers between fantasy series. Those are the books that I am looking forward to reading in August, and I'm getting super excited to get back into reading. I feel like fall is always my favorite time to read. I don't know, I just love it. I love like opening the windows, sitting outside, and just reading as much as I can for as long as I can, and I am so excited. And I don't know, like I said, I love fantasy books, and fantasy books in fall are just phenomenal. My reading always increases tremendously through like the second half of the year, just as it starts cooling down a little bit. But if you guys enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I post videos every Friday. And if you guys have any recommendations for anything you want to see or anything you want me to read, let me know in the comments below. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.